Howdy gang. In today's episode of Pool School, I am going to show you how to change the Footpad and blue finned suction disc on a Baracuda G3 pool vacuum. So let's get to it. Okay, so before we get started, I want to thank you for watching, and I want to encourage you to like this video if you do, and subscribe to this channel if you have not done so. And please share this video, or at least this channel, with your friends who own pools who are looking to save a buck or two servicing their pool themselves. Okay, so we are talking about how to change the blue finned suction disc and the foot pad of a Baracuda G3. It's made by a company called Zodiac. Now, up until the time that Baracuda discontinued this one and their previous model, this was my favorite vacuum. But because they discontinued it, obviously it's getting harder and harder to find parts. From what I understand, they're still making parts, but who knows how long that will last. But if you have a G2 or a G3, a Zodiac Baracuda G2 or G3, basic principles on replacing the parts that I'm going to describe to you here is the same. The only difference is that the G3 has a removable base plate that the footer sits on, all right, that can be taken off the actual body of the vacuum, whereas the G2 does not. That base is attached as part of the body of the vacuum, and so you're just not taking it off. But the foot pad and the blue disc that you replace on this product, on this vacuum, is same whether it's a G2 or a G3, all right? So we're gonna go on back and take a look at the G3 and how to replace the foot pad and the blue finned suction disc. Okay, so I have already gone ahead and removed the vacuum from my client's pool, and I made sure that there is no way that the pump motor is going to turn on while the vacuum's out of the pool. I left the hose, one end of it dedicated line into the side of the wall, and then the other hose, the hose is just sitting in the water. Again, I'm making sure that the unit, the motor doesn't turn on, okay? This is the foot pad, okay? And as I said before, this foot pad will work on the G3 or the G2, okay? It's just the difference is the G3 has a removable base that this can attach to, whereas the G2 does not. This is a suction cleaner fin disc. The only thing to keep in mind on both of these is that they're sitting the correct way. This is the bottom of the base plate. This is the foot pad. This is the part that attaches, that sets on the bottom of the pool. This is the part that attaches to the base plate of the vacuum. Make sure you get that right, okay? And then on the fin disc, the only thing to remember is, see how the things flare up like that? Well, if they flare up, you want to make sure that this part is facing up, and it actually just says that. And this part, the smooth flat side, is the part that goes down against the bottom of the pool, okay? These are both aftermarket parts, and I prefer them because, number one, they're less than half the price, and I've actually found that they hold up better, all right? The only thing I'll say is the foot pad is a little stiffer than the manufacturer's one, but so it makes it a little trickier to get onto the base, but it's not too bad, okay? So with that said, let's talk about removing this. Remember, now a lot of times, remember the G2, that base plate there, see that blue thing in the middle? That's part of the base plate, and that yellow thing is the manufacturer's foot pad. You can actually take the foot pad and the finned disc, which you can tell is in really bad shape. It's time to replace it, right? You can actually take those off without removing the base plate, but since this is a G3, I might as well just show you how to remove the base plate too. So I'm going to pause it for a second. The first thing I need to do is I'm going to pull that blue fin disc off. So I'm actually going to just keep it right here. I'm going to put it between my legs here, and I'm just going to peel the blue fin disc off. Okay, and you'll notice when I peel it off, this foot pad might come off too. If I don't want the foot pad to come off, I can put my hand on that and hold it. But you notice, see this flat side right here, that edge? Right? And the rest of it is kind of rounded. I can pull it off on that side easier. Okay, so I'm going to pull it off. It comes off of that lip, and there's a groove, if you notice, that it fits into. I just peel it right out, and it comes off like that. And that's the old one. Now I'm left with the foot pad and the base plate. And it's been my opinion and experience that whenever one of these starts to wear out, I replace the foot pad and the disc at the same time, because once you replace one, if they're both in the same, we're both put on at the same time, it's just a matter of time before the other one goes bad. So you might as well replace them both and avoid having to do it too often. So one of the ways to tell if you need a new foot pad is you see those little bevels right there, those little notches. As they wear across the bottom of the pool, it's going to start to flatten that. And eventually these will be flush with that groove, and then it no longer moves because water is flowing through this. And if it's flat, then it just creates a big suction cup and your vacuum won't move. So again, there's other reasons to replace this. Some of that is that this starts to get worn out, what attaches to the actual base, and I'll show you that in a moment. But right now, I'm going to remove the foot pad. In order to do so, to help you understand how to remove the base, I'm going to take the base off as well and then remove the foot pad from there. All right, so this is, again, the vacuum. In order to take off the base plate, which is this blue thing here, okay, I'm going to have to unscrew the sleeve of the inside body of the vacuum, because this sleeve creates tension and presses down on this to lock it into place. And see that little tab right there? That has to come loose in order to do it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this yellow nut and unscrew it, just like that. And that holds my diaphragm, and I'll teach you about how to replace a diaphragm on one of these in another episode. I'm going to set this aside as is for now. And now I have this unit like this, okay? Now, in order to take off the foot pad, okay, or the base plate, I'm going to push this little tab in. See this right here? I'm going to push this tab in, and when I do, this thing is going to move like that. See that happen? Okay, there's a little notch right here on this piece right here. That clips right into here, into this front side of it, all right, like that, and then it locks into place right there. Now, if this sleeve is in there, it's pressing on this and you can't get it free. So again, I remove the sleeve, I push down on this tab and tilt on the other end of it, like so. Push, kind of push it in this way, and that will release the pressure on that tab, and out comes the base, okay? Now I can put this aside. Don't drop it, because as they get older, they get brittle. And this is my base plate, okay? And the foot pad, you notice, attaches like so. To take this off, remember I said there's other reasons why you replace a foot pad? These get flimsy after a while and they start to tear. So if you happen to use a screwdriver to put these on, don't tear it, okay? So to take this off, all I do is peel these back and just kind of work it off, and off it comes like that. This is the old foot pad. This is the base plate. Remember which way the base plate goes. It's pretty easy to tell. These tabs right here, these go into the vacuum. This part down here is the part that faces the bottom of the pool, or the floor of the pool, okay? So now I'm going to get the new foot pad and put it on. Alrighty, I've got the new foot pad. And here's my base plate, making sure I've got it in the correct way. Now notice something also. See the design of this? It's pretty obvious which goes where, okay? So if you look at this base plate and you look at this foot pad, I've got them in the correct angle, right? The correct direction, so when I put them together, it'll work like this. This longer piece goes in this piece down here, all right? If I had it the other way, it's not gonna fit in there. So it's pretty much like a puzzle piece. You could pretty much see that. So in order to get that on, I'm going to just work this into the groove here like this, all right? And I'm going to kind of turn it into the groove like this around, and it will seat in there, right? This is a little tricky, and it gets a little bit, yeah, it's tricky, that's all. And I'm going to just keep twisting, and now it's set in for the most part. Now I take my fingers, or I'm going to grab a screwdriver, being very careful not to tear this, and I'm going to just get my screwdriver in there. Kind of like a bicycle tire. I'm going to work this little lip in place until it's in place. All right. Takes a little bit more. Remember what I said about these aftermarket ones? They're a little bit tighter, but I like them because they tend to last a little bit longer. All right. So see how I'm doing that? Nice and gentle, careful not to tear the material at all. Okay, but I want to get it over the lip, or the rim of it. And look at that. Just like that, it's in place. Everything is seated around the rim. There's the bevels. They're in pretty good shape. Now, before I put the big blue disc on, okay, I'm going to attach this back to the vacuum because it's just less cumbersome and easier to do. Just note this. See this little groove right here? That little groove right there all the way around is where that blue fin disc is going to sit, all right? So I take my vacuum body and I'm going to just reverse the order of what I did. First thing I do is take this side, this piece right here, and dip it down into the vacuum like this, okay? Once it sets in there, it's gonna set right into place like this, okay? And then I push it down. And do you hear that? It locked into place, and I can tell because that piece popped out, all right? Now, that piece is in place, all right? Now from here, I'm gonna do something before I put the fin disc on. I'm gonna put this back on. Just attach, I'm just gonna put the sleeve back into the top of the hole, and I'm gonna screw that big yellow nut back on. And I'm gonna screw it fairly snug. I mean, don't get channel locks or anything, but I wanna make sure that during the popping, because this uses a diaphragm and it pops around the pool, I wanna make sure it doesn't work itself free. Now, I can attach the last part, the suction disc. Okay, so this is my aftermarket blue finned suction disc. And again, the only thing to keep in mind is which way it goes, okay? So if you look at this thing, you'll notice it kind of flares up. So what's underneath my hands, where my hands are, that's gonna be against the bottom of the pool. This is gonna be on top. And you notice this one makes it easy. If you look right there, right here, it says this side up. So that's the side up, all right? So all I'm gonna do is take this and fit this onto this foot pad. Now, I usually go from this end because it's easier to pull it on, all right? So I put it on like this, and then I just kind of work it around. I'm gonna kind of have to use two hands to do this, but I put it on this side first, right? Instead of putting it over the other side. I mean, a lot of people do. Well, let's try it. Well, see, I don't particularly like to do it that way because I don't get anything to grab it with. So I'm gonna put it on this end because that allows it to seat partially onto the vacuum, right? Now I'm doing this kind of without using it on the ground so you can see, but I'm just gonna kind of work this around, and this thing's gonna sit, just kind of pulling it onto that sleeve, that notch, right? See how it sits on there? Now I want you to look at this right here. See this piece right here? See if you can see that? You want this to go inside between this part and this part here. You don't want this sitting above it, okay? And now your disc is in place. Now all you gotta do is take it back to the pool, plug it in, and fire it up. So let's go do that and see how we did. All right, so I'm back at the pool, and here's my repaired vacuum, and there's the hose. Notice I left it attached to the side port, and it's in the water, so it hasn't gotten any air in it. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna submerge this to make sure it fills with water, and there's no air in it. I'm just gonna attach it back to the end of the hose over there and fire it up. All right, the vacuum's in the pool. It's attached to the hose. Now I come over to my system, and in this case I'm gonna just turn it on because I have it in timeout. Fire it up. Now I did empty this pump basket, so it's gonna take a moment for it to prime, right? And once it primes, you should notice the vacuum's gonna start making its jolting noise, which is how it works. And we have success. And that is it, folks. That simple. And we're back in business. So gang, that is my video lesson on how to replace the Footpad and blue finned suction disc on either the Zodiac Baracuda G2 or G3. In this case, I used the G3. Remember, the only difference between the two is that the G3 has a removable base plate that you can take off, and I showed you how to do that in case it needs to be replaced, that you can take off to put on the foot pad and then put it back on and attach the blue fin disc. The G2 does not have a removable base, so that's the only big difference, all right? The parts are interchangeable, it's the same parts, same products for both, okay? I hope it made sense. Remember, if you have any comments or questions, you may make them in the comment section below this video, or if you'd like, you can email me directly. My email address will come across the screen here. It's kennypoolschool@gmail.com. I'm gonna move my camera over a little bit so it's not too bright. It'll probably be up here. kennypoolschool@gmail.com. Thank you once again for watching. I hope it all made sense to you. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like this video, please push check like. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel and please share this channel with your friends. I'd really appreciate that. Now, fall is here. Yesterday was our first day of fall and we actually got rain, which is amazing for Arizona. But temperatures are starting to cool off a little bit even out here. But even though swim season is winding down, it is still important that you always watch those kids around water. So my reminder again, have fun, be safe, and always watch those kids around water. And I will see you in the next lesson. Take care.